Hey everyone, welcome back to bageltcg. Today we're going to be going over the spoilers that were leading up to spoiler season and doing a bit of a retroactive review here on these spoilers. We're going to hop right into it here, looking at Emperor Drakai of Acer. He's dead, so we don't have to worry about him actually. Just kidding, but that was way too cringy. But I do love the whole story point of the Emperor being dead. I think that's super funny. And that we get him spoiled on the set, and then like a month later, he's announced to be dead by Arachne. But really cool way to show off the assassin class, and I love how they did it. But we really do not need to talk about this hero too much. He's quite bad. As far as we know, maybe he'll have a cool weapon, or there could be something that breaks him. But currently, being only able to have red cards in your deck and then having to pay 3 resources to search for a command and conquer and then attack with it, it's pretty bad. You have to put 3 whole cards into playing that command and conquer, which is not good. So yeah, not great. None of the really combinations of Royal, Draconic, Warrior, Wizard. I mean, he has a lot of access to a huge card pool. Royal, Draconic, Warrior, Wizard is a huge card pool, but he's at only 15 life. He can only play red cards. I'm not really sure how he's supposed to abuse any of the combinations if he's not able to have resources. Restricting to him to only red cards is huge. I do think he's mostly for fun. He's a legendary. He's going to be an expensive card. And I think he's really cool. I mean, being able to access that many talents and classes is cool, but unless he could access blue cards or more resources, he's just not going to be able to do enough. I do think he might be broken if he could play blue cards, because then he could do way too much strong stuff with that combination, but as is, probably not good enough. Looking at Crown of Dominion, Crown of Dominion's another legendary from the set. It makes you royal, and then you also get a gold token at the start of the game. That is about it. I think that's probably okay. In an aggressive deck, you can play a card like Cash In, which for the cost of 0 resources, you can sacrifice your gold token and then draw a card draw 2 cards, I should say, with Go Again. So drawing 2 cards, pretty good for 0 resources with Go Again. I can see a deck like Briar wanting to draw 2 cards on a non-attack action with Go Again. So I could see this being very good in a deck like Briar or other Brune Blades that would really love to have a non-attack action that draws them 2 cards for free. Outside of that, I don't, unless there's some really big payoffs for being royal, I don't think the gold token's super worth it unless you're using it to pay for something like Cash In, or if there's some broken royal stuff. But as is, with the current things we have, this will only be in a few decks that really want to play Cash In, and that's probably about it. Next up, we have Imperial Warhorn here. This is a 2-cost Majestic. It's a generic action item, so it does not block because it is an item. It is a legendary, so you can only have 1 in your deck. And as an action, you can pay a resource to destroy it. Choose any number of heroes. Each of them chooses an ally, or an item, or landmark permanent they control. They destroy that permanent. If you're royal, you choose those permanents. So kind of a payoff for being royal. You get to choose the permanent that your opponent sacrifices. But I don't know if that's great because this card's kind of sucky. It does not have Go Again, so the action doesn't have Go Again either. So you have to take 2 whole action points to play it for 2 resources and then activate it just to destroy 1 thing. I don't see how this is playable in any world, unless, yeah, I have no idea. I don't see how this is playable in any world. I'm sure one day this will be like busted and it'll bite me in the ass, but I just don't see how using 2 action points to destroy a single aura is good enough. Like you use your 1 turn to play this, use your next turn to activate it, and your opponent's like, okay, I'll sacrifice my Rune Chant, and that's it. So yeah, it's not great. We do have Merciless Battle Axe here. This is a 3-cost to attack with it. It's a warrior weapon, axe 2-handed, and it has a 3 power. So 3 resources for 3 power. Pretty bad. Especially in warrior, who is trying to use cheap weapon attacks to go again often. But it has the effect when it attacks, if its power is greater than twice its base power, it gains overpower, which means you can only be defended by 1 action card. That does not put a limit on reaction cards. So attack reactions and defense reactions can block it additionally, but action cards, meaning attack actions or non-attack actions, you can only block with one of them. So it is a kind of weaker form of dominate. This card's also quite bad. You have to pump it a good bit to be able to give it overpower, which overpower is not even that strong of a mechanic. And 3 resources for its base of 3 damage is not good. So not a great rating here, but I do like these cool weapons they come out with. Next up, we've got Powder Keg here. This is a blue Majestic Mechanologist action item. This card is probably good. It says whenever a Mechanologist gun you control hits, you may destroy Powder Keg and a defending equipment. I don't think this is that bad. I mean, it's a blue. That's nice. Obviously, not blocking is not ideal. But it has some great combinations. If your opponent has an equipment that is really, their whole deck's kind of based around, like Crown of Seeds or Storm Striders, stuff like that, you can use T-Bone to get that card, to get that equipment onto the combat chain. You know, T-boning it on there, and then you can try to connect with a gun and get it destroyed. So I think this card is probably not good enough to see play, but I wouldn't be surprised if it did see play, because it seems okay. It seems okay with T-Bone, and a lot of decks are running all 9 T-Bones, so it doesn't seem bad. We do have the gun to go along with it. This is the Hanabi Blaster. It is a 2-handed gun, and it attacks for 5 power, which is pretty good, especially considering it's free. So you can remove 2 steam counters from it to attack. It has overpower, meaning it can only be defended by, it can't be defended by more than 1 action card. And the 3rd time you play a card with boost each turn, you put a steam counter on it. So you can only attack with it once every other turn, and you can only do that if you've boosted 3 times those turns. But if you're a full boost dash, that's not that impossible of a challenge. And then it's a free 5 damage at the end of your chain, which is really, really good. If you told me I just need to boost 3 times and I get 5 random damage thrown in, I'd be pretty sold. So pretty great. This plus Teklo Pounder is your starting item. You're going to be dealing a lot of damage, and I wouldn't be surprised to see some aggro boost dash decks running this. Yeah, I think it's pretty strong. Obviously, it's a big ask to boost 3 times, and it'll kind of suck if you miss on it a little, but it's strong. It's strong. 0 for 5. No one's going to tell you that 0 resources for 5 damage is not strong. Next, we have Amethyst Tiara. This is a Runeblade head equipment, and it blocks for 1 with Blade Break. And at instant speed, you can destroy it and give Rune Chance you control Spell Void 1 this turn. This card's bad. Those Rune Chants are destroyed if they're blocking stuff. I don't know why you'd have leftover Rune Chants that often anyways that you didn't use on your turn. And Spell Void's not that useful against a lot of decks, so yeah, I don't see a ton of application for this card. I don't think it's very good. We do have maybe an exciting card. We have Sandscour Great Bow. This is a 2-handed ranger weapon bow. And it has a once per turn action of paying 1 resource. You look at the top card of your deck, and then you may put an arrow from your hand or the top of your deck face up into your arsenal. Go again. Whenever an arrow is put face up in an arsenal from your deck, put an aim counter on it. So pretty strong effect. Being able to put an arrow from the top of your deck face up in your arsenal is good because you didn't actually use any cards from your hand outside of the 1 resource. And you're often pitching a blue and ranger every turn anyways. So 1 resource to kind of draw a card, quote unquote, since that card is from the top of your deck, is very, very good. Kind of similar to Death Dealer, obviously, and the fact that it kind of replaces itself. You know, you're not, instead of drawing a card, you're just putting it from the top of the deck, but it still is card neutral either way. But this one has kind of that additional effect of whenever an arrow is put face up from your deck, you put an aim counter on it. Unfortunately, I don't think we know what aim counters are, so I cannot tell you how good this is. I'll say if aim counters are good, this bow is probably quite good. It's like basically kind of a better Death Dealer at that point. So I think it has the potential to be quite strong. I don't know what aim counters are though. So There's been a lot of speculation about what an aim counter could be. There's a lot of speculation, so I really don't know, and I could not tell you what an aim counter is. So I'm going to give this a tentative, yes, this is pretty good grade, but that could be taken down a peg if the aim counters are kind of useless. Next up, we've got Seasoned Savior. This is a Guardian equipment offhand, a little shield here. It blocks for 3, which is a huge amount for a shield, and it has Battle Worn, which is pretty good. But it says whenever you equip it, put 2 -1 counters on it. So it's going to start in play with 2 -1 counters, so it only blocks for 1. It is effectively that Rotten Shield or whatever from Tales of Aria, which means it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. If there is very easy ways to remove -1 counters, then maybe it could be good. If you can consistently and easily remove counters from it, then I think it could be quite good. But if there's not, it's basically useless. They have shown us one way to remove counters in the form of Reinforced Steel. This is a common Guardian action. Blocks for 3, costs 2, and it says remove a -1 counter from a Guardian offhand you control with 3 or less base defense. The yellow will remove it from 2 or less base, and the blue from 1 or less base. So the only one that will affect Seasoned Savior is this red here. This card's pretty bad. First of all, you don't want that many reds in a Guardian deck, and also it doesn't have Go Again, so you're spending your whole action point to just basically gain 1 life, which is really bad. It's just really bad. I don't have anything else to say. This card's quite bad. I could maybe see the yellow seeing some play if it had Go Again on Stalagmite, but I have no idea why you would play this card. Sap. Sap is another Zap, and this is a 0 cost for 3 Arcane. It's a little wizard action common here, blocks for 3. And it says Surge, which is a new keyword. If this deals more than 3 damage to a hero, you may remove an energy counter from a permanent they control. You can see Surge also goes along with how much damage the card is dealing. So you can see this is a yellow version of Zap. This is a promotional art here. It says if it deals 2 or more damage. So Surge basically means if this card is dealing more damage, then it's base damage. So the 3 is dealing 3 or more. You can see the blue deals 1 damage, and if it deals more than 1. So Surge basically means it has to connect, and when it connects, it has to deal more than the damage that's written on it. The effect, removing an energy counter, is okay. Fyendal Spring Tunic uses energy counters, and that is a pretty common piece of equipment. Alluvian Constellas also uses energy counters, a much less common piece of equipment, but removing an energy counter is kind of like removing 1/3 of a resource on a tunic. So it's okay. It's not great. I don't see this seeing probably any play unless energy counters become more common, but it's not bad. And if you need your 7th, 8th, and 9th copy of a Zap, they are here. Next we've got Rock, which is probably the best card in the game. It's a Rock. So then we have Blazon Yori. Blazon Yori here is a ninja equipment chest. This blocks for 1 with Blade Break, which is not great. It's a ninja equipment chest here, but while it's defending on Chainlink 4 or higher, it has +4 block, which is huge. Unfortunately, this card is basically just for the mirror, and you probably have to have it or you'll lose to your opponent who does have it, which is kind of cringe. I don't love this design-wise, but if they have some more go-wide decks, this will be cool. This almost feels more suited for the Assassin class we were just talking about, being able to block well. But basically, Chainlink 4 or higher, if this is blocking, it'll block for 5. So this blocks out stuff like Lava Burst really well in the 5 mirrors. It's good in Ninja versus Ninja, and that's kind of about it. So if you're a Ninja player, you'll have to pick one up for all the other Ninja players so you don't get crushed in the mirror. But outside of that, it's kind of useless in most other matchups, but definitely important in the mirror. Next up, we've got Rock. Rock is a brute weapon rock, 2-handed. It is a rock. It attacks for 7 for 3 resources, which is definitely the best rate in the game. Absolutely busted rate. 3 resources for 7 every turn would be stupid. It also says damage that would be dealt by rock can't be prevented. So Crown of Seeds, Oasis Respite, stuff like that that says prevents damage does not work on rock. Rock cannot be stopped. Unfortunately, you can only activate it if you have no cards in hand. And if you are activating it, you do that before you pay the resource cost, which means you can't just pitch a blue and attack with it. When you activate it, it says, oh, you still have this 1 card in hand before you can pay the 3 resources with that 1 card in hand. So you got to be a little tricky with rock. You can maybe pitch a blue to play a card like Rolling Thunder, and then you can use a Tunic resource to get your 3rd resource back and activate rock. But currently there are not a lot of great ways to activate rock. Energy Potion has been a way to activate rock. Tunic is a way to get some extra resources for rock, but mostly you have to have stuff that's out on the board that'll get you some free resources after you've already emptied your hand. So if they give us some more ways to get pitch a card from hand, like if you could use like Flame Scale Furnace and Brute, this card would be real good, but you currently cannot. So this card's kind of meh. It might be okay in like Blitz, because you can play Deep Blue with it, the chess piece where you put a card from your hand on the bottom of your deck, and then you get 3 resources. You can activate Deep Blue. You'll have no cards in hand and 3 resources, and then you can attack with rock. But outside of that, not enough ways to activate it currently to make it good enough. We've got Water Glow Lanterns here. So far, all of these lanterns look like complete ass, but I'm expecting some sort of card that pays off these lanterns, similar to Nimble Strike with Nimbleism, or Crazy Brew and Life of the Party, I think. Stuff like that where it checks for other cards, or Moonwish and Sunkiss, that kind of combination of cards. I'm expecting like a card that says, banish however many lanterns from your graveyard. This attack action gets +2 power for every lantern banished this way. That's just a guess. If they don't print anything that gets an effect from lanterns, they're just real garbo. But they're cool at least. So they say this for example, this red one is a illusionist action, 2 block with go again. All of the lanterns, there's one for quite a few classes we've seen, but they're all non-attack actions with that block for 2 and have go again. You reveal the top card of your deck. If it's red, you create a Spectral Shield token. There is also, since this is a common, there is a yellow and blue version of this, and they check for a yellow on top of your deck or a blue on top of your deck to make a Spectral Shield. If you don't hit, this card does nothing. It's pretty bad. If you do hit, you get a Spectral Shield, which is still not great for just 1 card. So don't see the application here. We have a Runeblade version. Like I said, 0 cost non-attack, blocks for 2, has go again. This one looks at the top card. Once again, checks for the same color of the lantern. So the red lantern checks for red, yellow checks for yellow, blue checks for blue. If it's the same color, you get a rune chant. If it's not the same color, you do nothing. So once again, pretty bad. I'm expecting some lanterns for some other classes. We've only seen these 2 so far, but mostly I'm just hoping we have a way to use these lanterns for something more useful than what they currently do. And I believe the last card we have to look at here is Sergeant Aethertide. This is a wizard weapon staff, 2-handed. Once per turn action, pay 2 resources, deal 1 arcane damage to an opposing hero with go again. The first card you play each turn with an arcane damage effect instead deals that much damage plus X, where X is the damage dealt by Sergeant Aethertide this turn. It's kind of like a more expensive Crucible that also doesn't always work. So it's probably not good enough. There's no ways currently to buff your weapon damage as wizard. If they did print anything that buffs your weapon damage, it would probably be too good, honestly, on stuff like this and Kraken, the other staff. So I think they probably won't print anything that buffs the weapon, at least at the current power level of the game. But yeah, it's probably not good enough right now. If there was a way to buff it, it'd be quite good. But currently there's no ways to buff it, and it's probably just worse than Crucible. So probably not going to see play over Crucible or Waning Moon, but it is a cool option. I believe those are all the kind of older spoilers that were slowly trickling out leading up to official spoiler season. I hope I didn't miss any. Let me know if I did. If you haven't yet, check out my video reviewing the Assassin spoilers from yesterday. I appreciate you coming by and watching this video. Kind of just a casual look through these spoilers as I talk about my thoughts on each one and giving my review so far of these cards. I'm really excited. I think the Assassin class looks pretty cool, and some of these cards I think are really cool. I would love to make a deck where Rock works, for example, or I hope there's maybe some more ways to remove counters so I can use that super sick Guardian Shield. But thanks for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.